perspective is not always easy to find. Sometimes it takes effort, and sometimes it's just right there in front of you. But if you're not willing to look, if you're only wallowing, then there you are. That's where you're going to be.
Yeah.
And I think I processed all of this very poorly.
Welcome back to the show. There's no telling where we'll go. So come and share a laugh on the Imp and Skizz podcast.
So several weeks have gone by now since something really unfortunate happened.
Tragedy.
Yeah. It's like, I don't want to call it a tragedy. It was, but it felt that way.
Yeah.
And so I had the hard time even talking about it a little bit, especially when it was fresh, and I'm going to get into it here. But it also revealed itself as a pretty stellar topic in regards to pain and perspective, right? So 2 seconds ago, you just said the tragedy, and it absolutely felt like that. You give it some time, and you get to the other side of things, and you can get some perspective, and you can start to get a clear set of optics on what you just went through or what lie ahead and what to focus on. And that's what this is. It's going to be sort of like reminiscing about times in our lives and where things were just felt like you were just at the bottom and getting to the other side of that.
I think that's where the word perspective comes in.
Yeah.
It's a big part of it, because a lot of times when you're going through things, you're in it. It feels like doomsday. It feels like this is it. Nothing could be worse than this. And you realize over time, or once you gain a little bit of perspective about it, that not that it wasn't bad. It's just, it was definitely worse in your head when it was fresh and you were in it. And we're going to talk about a lot of things during this podcast that a lot of people will compare, because that's what we do.
Yep.
Even though we've tried to say comparison's the thief of joy, you'll compare, okay, well, this big thing that was like a real tragedy in their eyes is nothing compared to what I've actually gone through. And I think a lot of people will do that, and that's fair. I think that's totally fair. But we will talk about things that actually meant a lot to us in that time, and what gaining perspective about it afterwards meant as well, and how that's kind of like helped us re-envision the moments, after the fact. So it was a pretty heavy one that you went through. I mean, I remember you literally couldn't tell me the story without tearing up for weeks, and you probably still will be today.
I'm gonna try. I think enough time has gone by where I can keep it together, but you're right. And in fact, and you as my buddy, I didn't intentionally try to keep you in the dark. I was just like, and so I really had you clearly thinking something much worse had gone down, because that's just how it was coming off.
My wife called it, actually. My wife called it when
Really?
I explained that there's something happened and you wouldn't tell me what. She knew exactly what happened.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Wow. So I'll unpack that.
Because I was definitely like, I was thinking the worst.
Yeah.
I was thinking
the worst.
I was thinking you got mugged. Yeah, because you went on a cruise, during this time frame, and you hadn't told me what was going on. And you hadn't even said anything was wrong until after the cruise. So then when I did find out something happened, I was like, oh, something happened on the cruise. Okay, they had an excursion. Oh, they went to a place that's kind of known to be sketchy.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh, what if they got mugged, or his wife got raped, or like all these crazy things were going in my mind. Yeah. And that's why I was like, you got to tell me. You got to tell me. You have to tell me what's going on, because my mind will do that. It will go to worst case scenario, just because, me, I like to be prepared. This is the way I live my life. I'm always prepared. I'm following a schedule. I know exactly how to deal with stuff because I've mentally prepared myself. And a lot of times, over prepared myself. I get, like go down doomsday routes, and just to make sure, like, oh, if this actually ends up being the news I get, I'm at least mentally prepared to respond, Yeah. And so I started going down all those paths, and I was like, you got to just tell me.
Yeah, because the mind will fester. The mind will just create these gaps. Like when the mind needs answers and the answers are not available, it will make them up.
Right.
This is just what it was. And I wasn't intentionally trying to do that. And thank God it was nothing that severe. And for the record, if I called you at all, it would have been from prison if that was the case, because I would have taken human life. So no, this one, the story here is, and I think it was, I think the frustration here for me was that this was a story that was kind of 10 years in the making. And everybody knows how much we've put into my daughter's softball and what that journey has been like. We've talked about when she was very little and the stats we were getting, all the girls on the field and all the parents and who had these big aspirations, and hearing like, listen, less than 3% of those 200 girls behind us will ever even play in college. And when they do, the percentage of them who will be in D1 is frighteningly low. So do not get your hopes up. Like that whole thing. Yeah.
I'm going to stop you right there just because you are in it. You use terms that maybe not everybody knows. So when you say D1, D stands for division. Division 1 meaning collegiate, right?
The highest
collegiate athletics, or colleges can be divided into divisions here in the United States, at least. And Division 1 meaning the highest caliber, I guess. I don't know how a better way.
Yeah, I don't love it because I am very confident that there are several D2 schools who can beat D1 schools, but for some reason that's just how it is. And so
it's just a way that they group the colleges so that they know that it's going to be similar skill levels when they do end up playing each other.
Yes, and it's what attracts the most. And there's I'm willing to bet there's D3 schools who could beat D1 schools. You know?
Sure.
But for the most part, that is the energy, right? Is that D1 is the elite. Those are the ones that are eligible to go to the World Series and stuff like that. And that seems to be where a lot of the money and the interest is in. So that's we've talked about this before. And so my daughter, who is very determined and everything, she went through a lot of pain. She went through hell on some of those club teams and along with a lot of other girls. And she worked and that's all she did. She just worked. And lo and behold, she gets her place and she gets a scholarship at D1. And I
big deal.
I've been very clear that I don't like that it's all the way in New York, but that's what it is. And her first year, and that's what's crazy is that this story goes. I'm not going to monopolize this podcast specifically with this story. But if I were to go through all the different hoops, I mean, it's a podcast in itself. Her journey is a podcast in itself. Mm-hmm. But a lot of the hoops that she had to go through and making varsity as a sophomore on a very elite program in high school was actually a really, really big deal. And when she gets to college, she gets that first year and she ends up kind of going through this injury that slowed her down. But as a freshman, it's pretty likely you're not going to see a ton of play time. You got to sort of pay your dues, especially in an elite position like catcher, because that's the quarterback of the team. And so she's competing with upperclassmen and whatnot. So she played a little bit her freshman year, not a lot, but that's okay. You got to pay your dues, Sophomore year comes along. She gets a little bit more play time, but it's just not justified. She is doing great. She is a great catcher, and she is being outplayed by somebody who is much older, who is the worst catcher. But that girl's bat was hot. And in softball, if your bat's moving, you're in. That's how it works, right? In baseball, if you can play your position, they'll teach you how to bat. In softball, if you can bat, they'll give you a position. That's how it works.
So they're willing to risk a catcher making errors that would cause the other team to get runs.
They shouldn't be,
assuming that catcher is going to score just as many runs,
that's
if not
correct.
More.
And when the math doesn't work out, it's very frustrating as a spectator.
That doesn't make sense to me logically.
Yes, it's this person can hit. Bravo. Are you seeing how many runs they're giving up because they suck as a catcher? This is it's not fair what I'm saying, and it's very biased. Okay?
Skizz for college softball coach. Let's go.
Yeah, I tell you,
that's your next career move.
I don't hate that idea, but anyways, I want to be very clear. I'm being very biased here because it's my daughter, and I get it. I get it, but when you start to hear that same story from other parents where they're like, what is going on? And I'm like, she needs to get her bat moving. She has to get her bat moving, and she has a heavy bat. Okay, now I'm going to fast forward. Now she's a junior. Not to mention, I spent a lot of my time on the East Coast working from the East Coast so I could follow and watch as many games as possible. And it's hard to be over there that long, and there's not a lot of play time. And it was great being with her. You know what I mean? But I can tell it's frustrating her, and she's just, Dad, I'm just going to keep working. And so she does. She works. And then junior year comes along, and I get the incredible invite to Hermitcraft, and I want to start strong. And so I take a sabbatical from work, and I'm like, listen, this is going to break my heart, but I'm going to miss a good chunk of games when the season starts, but I'm going to be out there because I'm taking sabbatical. In the second half of my sabbatical, I'm going to go on vacation. I'm coming out, and I can't wait. But we sent the wife over, so the wife got to go see some great stuff. And my and she was playing a lot. It was great. And I'm hearing these stories. And at one point, dude, now her bat's moving. At one point, I'm streaming while she's playing. I had her game up on another monitor so I could watch, and I wasn't looking at the monitor when she smashed a home run. And by smashed a home run, I mean when I visited the field later, this was in Madeira Beach. The fences were 220, and the ball landed, I believe, 60 feet beyond the fence. Like, it was the most ridiculous. It was like the strongest home run I've ever seen. It was crazy, right? It was just what a great moment. But I missed it, and that sucked. You know what I mean? So I had to like watch the replay as the best I could, and there you have it. So I make it out there, and I for the first time ever, my wife and I got up early. We're going to fly out there. I am beside myself with happiness. You know what I mean? Actually, when did we leave? I think we actually left later that day. It doesn't matter. We got there late. We did not leave early. We left later in the day. That's right, because we both had to work, or she had to work. So we get there, and I see my daughter in the airport, and I'm super pumped, and I haven't seen her in a while, and I'm happy. And tomorrow they have a game. We're in Madeira Beach, and I'm very excited. And I say to my wife, I said, I'm so happy right now because I'm actually going to watch several games, and then we're going to go on a cruise. Like, this is good, man. So we get to that next day, and my daughter, there's 2 games, and they had another catcher catch the first game. Now this is perfect because the catcher I'm talking about, my daughter and her are really good friends, and they're both the same year, and they're both very good, and it's perfect. You do not want your catcher going back to back to back to back. They need to have breaks. Yeah. So they cut the first game, and I'm like, so my daughter's probably going to catch the second game, which is good. But here's the thing. In the first game, even though my daughter wasn't in the game, they had her pinch run for somebody because she's a very, very smart base runner. And somebody got on base, and they told my daughter, can you go run for her? So she goes out there. She's on first base, and here comes the pitch. And then she, takes her lead off, and then she digs her feet in and sees where the ball is, and then she comes back. And when she did that, I'm all, what is wrong with this field? Like, I was like, do you see this? What is it? What is she in? Is that sand? I was like, what is wrong with that part of the field? And I'm really worried because she cuts hard. And I'm really worried. I'm like, something's wrong with this field. She's gonna roll an ankle. Somebody's gonna get hurt on this. What is wrong? I'm like very upset about this. I'm like, this is D1. This is a huge deal. And I'm like, what is going on? I'm very upset. And I'm like, okay, just get over it. And because I'm neurotic. And then she gets through it fine. Then the second game starts, and now she's catching. And first half of the inning, she catches just great. She's just catching beautifully, framing beautifully. Nothing's getting by her. She's killing it. And then it's the bottom of the first inning, and now she's up to bat. And I haven't seen her bat in forever. Very first pitch, hits a single instantly. And I'm like, dude, she is on fire. This is what she's been waiting for. 10 plus years, and she is locked in her spot. She is now easily a very critical component of this team. And she's on cloud 9. She is. This is what I live for, man.
Yeah.
And then she gets on the base. She takes that lead off and then cuts back. I'm like, I feel really uncomfortable about this. Next pitch comes. She takes the lead off. She turns back, and she just hits the ground so hard. Like, you knew what you called it.
You got this.
Just give me a minute. Just give me a second.
You got this.
So she cuts, she hits the ground, and it's bad. She crumbles hard. And then she crawls back to the base and somehow gets safe. And I'm like,
was there a sound at that, like when that happened? Or
was there a sound?
Did she hear feel something?
She thought the ball hit her knee. I found all this out later. She thought the ball came off the bat and struck her knee. The ball was in the catcher's mitt. Nobody hit She hits the ground. I didn't know this, but when she went to the ground, I was like, that's her ACL. Because you and I watch a lot of football. Yeah. And when somebody goes down like that, when there's no contact, that's their ACL. Yep. And I was like, that's her ACL. And I'm like, no, that's the season. And I'm like, there's no way. This is so very bad. And I'm not like, that's the season. Now we lost on softball. It's more like, this is going to destroy her. Like, this is, and for the record, a lot of girls have gone through this, and a lot of them have come back from it. So she goes down, trainer goes running out there, coach goes running out there, and they work with her for a little bit. Next thing I know, she's standing. And I'm like, and I thought if you tore your ACL, you can't stand. And I was wrong. You can. It's kind of weird. The ACL is this very critical, like, ligament or tendon that connects your thigh to your bottom part of your leg, your femur to this shin. But it's like in behind the knee. It's very complicated, but it's you can't, you can stand, you shouldn't be, and you shouldn't turn, and you shouldn't walk. Like, you know what? It's one of those things, right? So she stands, and now she's kind of moving around a little bit. And I'm like, okay, I guess I was wrong. Thank God I was wrong. I was like, but that's just, you got to get off the field, man. Somebody goes down like that, you got to get them off the field.
Yeah.
Something's not right.
Give a little more time to evaluate.
Yeah,
that,
do something. But they left her out there. And then the next pitch, she goes off the base, she turns around, and now she hits the ground twice as hard. And when she hit it, her knee folds and her back came back. Like it was like the bottom half of her body stopped working. Like it was so creepy because she went back and her leg was like back underneath her. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And she hit back and you could just hear her scream in pain. And the catcher throws the ball to pick her off, you know, and the first baseman snags the ball and just like looks at my daughter. It just like stands there. It just like walks over, it just goes boop. She just like tacks her out. But it's like, I mean, she had to. The play's still live, you know? But she just like, it was like the most gentle, like, I am so sorry I'm doing this right now. You know what I mean? And she just did like super gentle. So they go out there and now they got her to her feet and then they're kind of carrying her off, you know? And I talked to, we brought her to the bench. They putting ice on it. They're doing all the things. And my daughter, who like is tough as nails and never cries, she didn't cry about the pain. She didn't cry about being taken out of the game. She did. She actually said, I just want to play like that, like through her tears. And it wasn't about this game. This has been a very, like, you know what I mean? Like, you know, and so the injustice was very, very palpable and it was so frustrating. And it was, I felt so bad. I had to, once she was situated, I had to go for a walk. And that's when I got my perspective instantly. And here's what it was. So I went on a walk. I'm listening to Polyphia to calm my mind. And I'm just walking around this park, and we're at a park called the Rock Park, ROC. Never paid attention to what this park is. It's beautiful. It actually is a beautiful park. And it's got plenty of diamonds, plenty of, you know, softball fields. I'm walking around this park and it's right there in the water. And I'm seeing plaques everywhere, like everywhere, like memorial plaques type thing, right? Like so-and-so, this is dedicated to so-and-so, and this is the year they lived, and blah, blah, blah. You know, you see these plaques born and passed, and you do the quick math, and I'm like, what is happening? This is awful. Like, why is every single little memorial thing of this bench or this fishing dock is dedicated to so-and-so, and they're all like really young lives. You know what I mean? And I'm just like, I'm going on ROC, ROC, this park stands for Remember Our Children. So the whole park is dedicated to
children that have been lost.
Yes.
Holy cow.
Yeah. So I'm like, oh, well, that was very quick perspective. You know what I mean? Like, and all of a sudden I'm like, I'm very sad and I'm not, I don't think I'm processing it very well, what happened to my daughter, but I got perspective like instantly, you know what I mean? And so I couldn't, even though I got that perspective, my brain wasn't quite willing to take it. So I was pissed off for a long time and I'm still pissed off.
Yeah.
And now all this time has gone by. My daughter's had the surgery and they completely reconstructed her ACL. And then during the surgery, they realized her meniscus also got damaged, which I'm sure I'm borrowing trouble here and I'm sure I'm wrong, but something tells me it was the second fall that ruined the meniscus. But they had to reconstruct the whole thing. And so seeing my daughter in a brace and seeing all those scars on her knee from when they had to do it, and they had to pull parts of her quad to bring it into the reconstruction site. And
wow.
And she sent me a picture this morning because now like the brace is off. I mean, she has to wear it, but she can take the brace off because the surgery was like 3 or 4 weeks ago. And she's like, I can already see the difference. And because she's a very strong kid and her left leg is like still muscular. And her right one's starting to look like a noodle. And I'm like, you're going to get it, every bit of it back and more, like and I'm like, you have to be patient. She has about 6 to 9 to 12 month rehab in front of her just to try her best to get ready for next year.
Yeah.
Right. So she is, doing very well. Like she's being very optimistic. She's like, she goes, everybody keeps asking me, why am I not more pissed about this? And she's like, because it's just, Dad, it does no good. What am I going to do? Wallow? So she's like, so she is with the team. She still travels with the team. She does book for the team. Like she's in the dugout with her leg up on a thing. and she does book for the team, and she cheers on the team, and she's still a very critical part of the team, and the team's
good.
been very, very supportive as well. So that's what that story was, and I needed enough time to like, because you saw it's still hard for me to like talk about it. But can you imagine try to do it right away? No good.
Well, like you said, you had a cruise as
Yep.
part of this, and you had second thoughts about whether or not you even wanted to.
I almost canceled the cruise.
Yeah, go on the cruise, and I can imagine that just put this like dark cloud over what should have been a fantastic experience, especially the fact that you hadn't been with your wife a lot. Like she had been traveling while you were kicking off your hermitcraft career on your sabbatical and stuff. And so she was away already. And you finally had this time to come in to where you and her could just get away and have no obligations in life other than like making sure you are up in time to do your excursions.
Yeah.
Right? That you do on cruises, like if you want to. But that entire thing had this dark shadow of, you know, what you just went through with your daughter and kind of thinking about what's the next step for her, you know?
Yeah.
Like how does this affect her college career? I mean, she's got 1 year left. She was a junior, right? Typically you'd have your 1 year left. Now does she get back to where she was through, you know, physical therapy? I mean, she's a tough kid. I've known her her whole life pretty much, you know? So I know that like from a work ethic standpoint, she's going to do everything she can, but now does she have to earn her role back? Is she going to get playing time even if she's physically capable?
Right.
Her senior year, all this stuff had to be just swirling in your head instead of being able to just go enjoy a cruise with your wife, which, you know, we've been on cruises together. They're normally fantastic time to just unwind. But I can imagine this one put a little bit of a damper on that for you as well.
It did. And we did. I mean, I want to be clear. We did have a good time, but you're absolutely right. Like it did, like, because my mind kept going back to it, you know, and, you know, and when my daughter was a freshman, there was another catcher who was, I believe, a senior at the time, junior, senior, I remember, but, something happened. It was during a swing actually, and she tore her ACL. And when she went down, no, I know now she was a junior because she was out for the season, out. And then she came back the next year, her senior year, and she could play again, but she never caught again. And that was, but that was, whew, that played on my mind. But I think she could have. I think that she just didn't really, I don't know. I don't really understand. I think she didn't want to, or maybe she didn't quite come back the way she wanted to. I really don't know. But there's a little bit of silver lining here. It happened early enough in the season. So the way it works in college is that if you are out of the season, and when the season ends, if you've played less than 33% of the games due to injury or illness or whatever, you can do what they call red shirt, which means now she's officially going to have red shirted her junior year, which means she's granted another year of eligibility to play if she wants to. This is actually pretty common. So you'll have girls that come back and they play a fifth year on the team because like one of their years they had to redshirt because of injury or something.
But they still need to be enrolled in the college and taking classes, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So that's another whole thing.
So she
I'm fine with it.
A fifth year senior basically, but on purpose.
On purpose.
Not like, you know, she couldn't get over her studies like you'd normally think of somebody that has to tack on an extra year of high school.
Well, she'll probably graduate and then go back for a fifth year for, you know, post-grad classes, you know, so something like that. That happens. So, I was in, does everybody's got to be thinking, does a scholarship apply? Does it carry? And I asked her, I said, do you think your scholarship will stick? And she said, well, it's up to the coaches. And she goes, but I think it will. They like me, which was really funny. Yeah.
Yeah. No, and I mean, the fact that she's going through and she's sticking with the team.
Yeah.
And she's still being as helpful as she possibly can. That's got to go a long way.
Yeah.
The coach is going to see that and see that, you know, she wants to, this is what she wants. She wants to continue one way or another, and she'll fight her way back.
Yeah.
So.
And we'll see because you hear these horror stories all the time, but mainly more in high profile colleges like ASU and U of A, their softball programs are always very, very strong. You hear these stories where there's a change of staff, a whole new coaches come in, and all those previous understandings out the window, done. I've seen this happen before where like entire squads of teams have just been wiped out because a new coach comes in. He's like, yeah, all these deals off the table. Like it's, you know, I can't even,
yikes.
Let's just not borrow trouble and let's just say that that's not going to happen, but whatever. So, so now she's red shirt and we'll see, where that goes. But you know what she said to me?
Okay, you said now she's redshirted, so that means this it doesn't necessarily mean the decision's been made that she's going to go 5th year. It's just up in the air still.
It's up in the air. She actually, we asked her, she wants to, and so I was like, and if it ends up costing like way more money or whatever, I don't care. I don't care. I'll go into debt. I'll do what I need to, because when somebody works this hard, it's how do you not do everything in your power, right? When they work that hard, and so whatever. So you know what she said to me, dude? Like. Literally, it had been minutes since she tore her ACL, and she says, "Well, I'm sorry, this is the game you came to." I said, "You shut up!
Come on,
shut your mouth when you're talking."
Yeah, you don't need any more fuel for this Skizz luck. Stuff. Oh, the one game I finally make it to. This has to happen.
Yeah, it was. It wasn't that. It was. I mean, it had that vibe, but it was so very clearly not about me. And I was. Well, I would have taken what.
Let's remind everybody. This is following. Hey, I'm finally taking a sabbatical from my job so I could be a hermit on Hermitcraft for the season 10 kickoff.
Yeah.
Never mind, I got shingles.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like, as much as I hate the luck talk, where, you always accuse me of having good luck.
Yeah,
and
it's all,
you having
it's
bad
all
luck.
garbage. Yeah.
Like, there's still a lot of evidence to support
Sometimes it's hard to ignore, but
I mean, how long did it take you to get a wither skull on the Hermitcraft?
I know, I know.
I want to be silly about
things,
it. But yeah, I mean, I can imagine, regardless of how you feel about whether luck is a real thing, just hit after hit has to just add up, right?
Yeah.
Oh man, I finally get a chance to do this thing that I've been wanting to do my entire life. I've got a tattoo on my arm saying this is what I'm all about, but now I can't do it because I got shingles.
Yeah.
Okay, got past shingles. Finally, I have 1 week where I'm feeling good enough to make these videos. Okay, I got that done. Sweet, finally, that felt great. I got 1 week to enjoy this being a hermit and what it's like to live as a content creator. And now I'm gonna go watch my daughter play softball. And never mind, she's down with an injury. Don't get to do that either. And then I come back and now I have to go back to work.
Yeah,
like I can imagine, and I've seen it too. I've seen it. We spend a lot of time together. We go on walks and we spend a lot of time together with podcasts and everything else. And I've seen it in you. It's definitely taken a toll.
Yeah.
And I can imagine. Like you can't be happy all the time when it's just constantly being the punching bag of life.
Yeah.
That's
what it sort of feels like. But that's also ridiculous, because when I take a moment and this is something I encourage everybody to do, because I think everybody has felt this way at some point in life, and I'm willing to bet several people feel that way right now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not always easy, but sometimes you have to you got to pump the brakes and take stock of the things that are great in your life. And if we did a podcast on the great things in my life, we don't have enough time. We don't. I am arguably, I like to have fun with the luck thing, just joking around. I'm arguably the luckiest person I've ever met in my entire life when I think about the people who are around me. When I think about the opportunities that are given to me, I'm very, very fortunate. I really, really am. And you have to do that, right?
Yeah.
There was a time there I got frustrated because things can always be worse, right? This is part of the perspective thing. Things can always be worse. But there was a stint there where anytime I had to think, well, man, it could be worse. It always had to do with somebody could be dying. And I remember saying to my wife, why is the barometer to happiness always whether or not somebody's dying? You know what I mean? I was like, I need a little bit more than that. This was years ago. My wife actually thought that was pretty funny, but you have to do that. And so, for example, like I'm relatively healthy. My wife is very healthy right now. My daughter, despite this injury, is very healthy. My son I'm very proud of my son. He's been doing great. I could do a whole podcast on him.
I see your son all the time.
Yeah, because he trains the
neighbor, and so I'll just be looking out my window and I just see him like getting out of his car, and then an hour or two later getting back in his car, and I don't say anything to him. I just like watching him, because again, I've been there almost his entire life. Oh. Yeah, we had our stint in high school where after you graduated, we weren't connected for a while, so missed his first couple years. But after we reconnected, he was probably 3 maybe years old. So I've known him almost his entire life, and to see what he is now, and the same with your daughter. It's just like, man, we're old.
We're old. We got old, man.
We're old.
Yeah.
But great kids. So yeah, I mean, you're right. Like, you have a lot to be, to feel good about. You've got a lot going on in your life that's positive.
Yeah. And that's not even his main job. He has another job that he's making good money at, and very proud of him, and he's making waves over there. And I'm very fortunate. You know what I mean? And then my brother, his wife is going through very aggressive chemo right now. That's an actual problem.
Yeah.
That's an actual problem. So I was on the cruise and I was texting my brother. I wanted to find out how things were going because we're all aware. I mean, she lost all of her hair like instantly, and now she's got 3 treatments left. I think they're doing 1 treatment every 3 weeks. And she was told that it's going to be like you're going to feel like you're in the 12th round of a boxing match because it's just always worse than the one before. And that's that's hard because I love this woman. You know what I mean? I've known her since way before I even met you. I mean, think about that. That's kind of crazy. It goes, now that I think, I'm thinking about this now. I remember being a young kid going to Tucson to visit my brother in his first year of college at U of A, staying with him for the weekend and meeting this new girlfriend he was kind of seeing, and that's her.
Wow.
I mean, is that crazy, dude? That's crazy, right? So I'm always reaching out to him and like, hey, how's she doing? I want to know. I don't want to pry. I don't want to be over the line here, but how are things going? And he gives me updates, and they always ask about my daughter, and it was very nice. I give him updates too. Part of me is like, dude, this is awful what happened to my daughter, but what you're dealing with is an actual problem. This is a real problem, But he is, to my brother's credit, man, I got to tell you, I don't know how he's doing it. I don't know how he's able to stay as positive as he is.
One.
Yeah, I think I'd be strong. But,
well, knowing your brother, I think he probably feeds into the power of positivity.
Yeah.
Line of thinking, right?
Yeah.
And so by staying positive, sometimes you can almost manifest good things.
Yeah.
By keeping a positive outlook on situations.
Yes, dude.
Right? Where and that can be reversed as well. If you're always going to be kind of like in a pessimistic, negative mindset, that's typically when you latch on to the negativity. Like the smallest things become like mountains,
Yes.
and things like that. And so your brother's very much of a maintain a positive mindset and positive things will happen kind of guy. And that's probably where he's at,
Yeah.
Or it could just be a shell.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
And that's the thing.
That's where you don't really you really have to know the person well enough, spend enough time with them to know whether or not that's their shield, or that's actually like their internal mentality.
Yeah, and that's what makes my brother so interesting to me. And I can say this: he doesn't watch this show, so I'm glad I can say this, knowing he's not going to say. He is 2 things at the same time, and it is the most interesting combination I've ever seen. He is extraordinarily sensitive and extraordinarily stoic. That is weird.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He is both. He is sensitive and stoic. And so because of that, I'm always, and he's my older, but he's actually he's like 8.5 years older than me. But he is, I still am always worried about him because it was always the older brother of 2 kids. Now and I love both my brothers very much, but they are so different from one another. It's unreal. And they're very close in age, right? And so it's like they're way up here in age, and then here's me. And we always make jokes at the second one. There's a reason there's a gap because he was a handful, right? Like that, like they took a long time because they were like this, Yeah. But who knows? I'm just making that up. But so for that reason, I think he's always sort of taken on this role of pure logic. That's why he's an extremely accomplished program manager. He's always taken on this role of order. He loves to organize parties and stuff. To a fault, to be honest. He loves to organize parties. He loves organizing games and stuff. This is who he is. So but he's so very sensitive and stoic at the same time that it's always kind of hard to get a beat on where are you really? in your heart? Where are you now? You know what I mean? And there was a time when him and I had this weird falling out years ago, and I was like, I'd had enough, because I don't want it to. You hear these stories of people like, I haven't talked to my sibling in 10 years, 15 years. That's not going to happen. I don't want that to ever happen. So I love my brother very much, and I was like, okay, what's your problem? Let's have it out right now. And I had grown a lot at this point in my life, and I told myself, whatever he says, you can have a conversation with him, but you're not going to tell him he's wrong for how he feels about something. And to his credit, man, he let me have it. You know, he did. He was very upset with me, and I will say a lot of it was for good reason. But once he explained it to me, I was able to say, like, okay, I'm not telling you can't feel that way, but you have misinformation here. And when I gave him the real story, he's like, oh my God, it was just a miscommunication, right? For the most part. But what I'm getting at is he did have the ability to open up. So because he did that, I'm constantly worrying, like, I'm like, how are you doing with all this? And he tells me, he's like, I'm doing all right. I'm like, are you? You know what I mean? It's like, I don't want to make things worse, but you can't do that, dude. This is a very big deal. Yeah. So in any case, that is an actual problem. And my daughter's thing that is an actual problem. It really, really is. But in the grand scheme of things, when you allow yourself to get some perspective, you can realize that when I take a second and think about the things I'm grateful for, they far outweigh what I'm not grateful for. And if that's not the case, if the bad stuff outweighs the good stuff, then one of two things is happening. Either you are not seeing the world for what it is, and you're only looking for the bad, or it actually you're in a bad spot, and maybe you might need to try to make a change, or it's gut check time to get through whatever it is you need to get through, right? Because we've all been there, right? And now you tell me, how do you think your whole life, right? There's not a chance that you've not gone through several iterations of something awful. Did you have a tendency to wallow, or did you have a tendency to keep your chin up and get through it?
I think I was a lot like your daughter.
Yeah.
In that aspect, because I did go through a sports injury when I was in high school. I made the basketball team as a freshman. It was the freshman team, but I made the team, and I was getting some playing time, and I was doing quite well. And during kind of like the winter break, I played a pickup game at the basketball court at the park, and I broke my wrist in two places, and because I tried to dunk the ball, and I mean, I did dunk the ball, so I just got to throw that out there. At 5'8", I'm pretty proud of that. But my momentum carried me, so I was kind of perpendicular with the ground, or parallel with the ground actually, and fell straight down. Anyway, we've told the story.
It's because that stupid hoop with the blades on top, because they don't want you.
They didn't want people hanging on the rim because they were afraid people were going to bend the rims.
Yeah.
But I was too light to bend the rim anyway. But instead, I just got like razor blade in my hands and couldn't hang on as my body swung forward from my momentum. So I fell, parallel to the ground, flat. Caught myself with my wrist or my hands, and it just snapped. Both sides, both bones on my right wrist here, which I think still kind of looks bigger.
I've heard
than
this story 100 times, and it hurts every time I hear it.
Yeah. So that happened, and so I broke my arm, and obviously I was out for the rest of the season, which in high school basketball, there was still a lot left. I think we went until March, so there was still a couple months left that I wasn't going to get playing time for. So what I did, kind of much like your daughter, was I stuck with the team. Like, I literally had a cast on my arm, and I was still running the drills with the team. What I didn't know at the time was that was kind of a bad idea, because the cast smelled really bad after a month or so of me sweating like crazy as I'm trying to do these drills with the team, trying to still stay in shape just in case it came off and I had time to still maybe play a couple of games, which it didn't happen. Season ended, and I didn't get any more playing time. I think I got my cast off like the last week of the season or something, so it just wasn't going to happen. And so after that happened, I kind of lost my spot on the team. I did a summer camp between freshman and sophomore year, which was going to show the new sophomore JV coach. Junior varsity was the next level up, which I would have gone to as a sophomore. And it's tougher because it's mostly sophomores and juniors on that team, and then the varsity team that would mostly be seniors and some juniors, and maybe if you're like outstanding sophomore. But anyway, it was going to be harder. And I realized during the summer league that even though I was playing really well, I just wasn't on the coach's radar anymore because I had lost my time with the team. I'd lost my chance to show the next coach up what I could do, and it just wasn't going to be enough to prove it in the summer league. There was already the team favorites. So I kind of felt like I might not make the team, or even if I do, I'm going to be third string and just, sit the bench, So that summer, I got a call from my girlfriend, who we had been together for 3 years already, my high school sweetheart, basically, and she joined the drum line as a cymbal player.
Mm-hmm.
She had played flute. Her whole time in like junior high and in her freshman year,
She's my cymbal player.
She had played
amazing.
flute, and she decided that year she wanted to do something different, so she decided to join the drum line as a cymbal player.
Yeah.
And she gave me a call, like school's about to start, like it's a week away or so, and she gave me a call and she's like, "Look, I joined the drum line. I'm doing the cymbal thing, and it's really fun. Like it's a great group, and the instructor, he's a little over the top, but he's awesome.
Yeah.
Like this group is so much fun. You would really like this," because I was a drummer since 4th grade.
Yeah.
And she's like, "You should think about it. They have an open spot right now on bass drum, and I'm sure you would get the spot if you wanted." And so I was like, well, I had to evaluate the situation. I was like, I could hold out and just go for this basketball thing, but there's a good chance it's going to fall through. And now my entire sophomore year of high school is going to be kind of destroyed, right? Like I'll have nothing to sink my teeth into other than academics. So I was like, you know what? I'll go for it. And maybe I'll juggle both if I feel like it, because they kind of happen at the same time. Like marching band season runs into basketball season. So I would have had to juggle both a little bit. I was like, but let me go for it. Let me go for it. I called the instructor. This is the funniest conversation in my life.
Yeah, this is good.
I called the instructor. She gives me the instructor's number. I call him, and I was like, "Yeah, hi. I heard you got a spot open on the drum line, and yeah, I'd like to join." And he goes, "This isn't a club, dude. You got to try out." That was my first conversation with my high school drum instructor. This isn't a club, dude. You got to try out. And I said, "Okay, when do I try out?" And I came down and I tried out. And I made second base, which if anybody that's ever done drumline and understands how a bass line works, second base is one of the harder ones.
Yep.
Because
it's the hardest one.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's because you're picking up the off notes.
That's correct.
Right? So if like we're going to do a 16th note run, one eanda going down the line.
You're the E.
I'm the E. So it's like,
Yeah.
you got to be like right there after the first note hits. You got to be ready to hit, because your note's coming, and it's you have to have like pretty outstanding rhythmic capabilities to do that. And anyway, I got the spot, and I got on drumline, and I'm doing my thing. I'm doing my thing, and I look over, and there's this tall guy. He was tall and skinny, and shaved heads, and hair pulled back in a man bun thing, and.
God.
And, he was just ordering everything. He was orchestrating everything around him. And I was like, I have never seen a high school kid so apt at like being responsible, being in charge of people, and having them all respond in a positive manner, even though it's coming off, kind of like almost military, right? Because that was kind of the vibe. But everybody was respecting this person. And I was like, there's something about this guy that's just different. And I found out his name was Skizz.
Yeah.
So long story short, that was a long story. Had I not broken my arm, which was devastating at the time, and missed the rest of the basketball season, we probably would have never met.
Yeah.
We had discussions before about butterfly effect.
Yep.
This was a very butterfly effect thing. Me breaking my arm. I know we told other stories about like me seeing a networking book at your house and all that, which led to this. But this was like literally the catalyst.
This was the first one.
Got me to even know who you were.
Yeah.
Was because I broke my arm.
Yeah.
So, you look back and you're like, man, that sucked. I remember how sad I was to miss the rest of my season and watch all my teammates flourish as I also did the clipboard thing for the team. I sat in the bleachers and took stats on a clipboard with one broken arm. I had to do it with my left hand.
What? Wait, because
I broke my right.
when we met,
Yeah.
did you have that cast on when we first met?
No, it'd have been off.
Oh, it would have been
by
off
that
by
time,
then.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, how did you try out with that cast on?
No,
Okay.
that was off because that happened during my freshman year.
Got it,
So
okay.
it was off by then. But yeah, I was taking notes with my left hand on a clipboard and running drills and and still trying to jump and dunk on the rim with one arm. It's stupid. But anyway, yeah. I mean, yeah. Looking back on that, it's like I'm glad it happened.
Yeah.
At the time, I was very much like, this is the worst thing ever. I worked my entire life to get here, to make this team, to show that I had what it took to be on this team. I mean, there was dudes that were like really, really good. Like every moment of their life was about playing basketball, and I've always kind of just been like, I do work hard, but I'm never willing to like go make it my all, like I still had other things in my life, like my girlfriend, that I would rather pay attention to. And so wink, wink. And so anyway,
Wink.
so anyway,
Wow, that's amazing. I'm gonna stop talking because I'm gonna run.
no,
with the baton.
we spent time together, watched movies and stuff.
Yeah. So
Anyway, so where were you at? Don't tell me.
winking.
Yeah. So yeah, I was bummed. I was bummed, but like you said, perspective is everything. Time, doesn't heal all wounds, but time can shed a different light on something in a very different lens. It can be dramatic almost how different life is looking back after things have occurred since that kind of like almost makes you feel like the universe has its way. You know what I mean?
Sometimes it feels that way. And it's, and I do think that there's a degree of truth to that. And I struggle to be an absolutist with that disposition because there's too many things in the world that are so unequivocally terrible that I'm like, no, that's not universe's plan. That's evil. That's very bad. But this is a very healthy way to do it, is that when you get to the other side of things and you look back at what got you there, sometimes it's the bad stuff that needed to happen to get you to that point, and it was, what was it? I think it's Garth Brooks, a country singer. I think he said there's this old song that he says, God, hold on. Let me think. Sometimes I thank God for unanswered prayers. Remember when you're talking to the man upstairs that just because he doesn't answer don't mean he don't care. And I'm like, I got goosebumps that look. Cause that's so I'm being a little bit, benevolent here, but my point being that sometimes you get to this, maybe this ACL tear, maybe is going to be a catalyst in my daughter's future career to where maybe she ends up being a specialist, like a PT specialist that's ACL centric, and she has experience. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
She knows exactly where her patients are at. I don't know. I'm making this up, but maybe these types of things can happen. Maybe because she might be there for a 5th year, maybe that's going to introduce her to her future husband, or maybe it's going to introduce her to somebody in her career path or something. I don't know. You know what I mean? But what I'm saying is that, like, you have to sometimes perspective is not always easy to find. Sometimes it takes effort, and sometimes it's just right there in front of you. But if you're not willing to look, if you're only wallowing, then there you are. That's where you're going to be.
Yeah.
And I think I processed all of this very poorly. And I think that because it's my daughter and there's I love both my children so very, very much, but the dynamic between a father and a daughter is very weird. And it's also, it's very weird considering I never had a sister. I only grew up with 2 brothers. You know what I mean? So I've always been I'm neurotic. You know what I mean? So seeing her go through that, watching her go down, it played on loop in my mind over and over for weeks, and I couldn't get rid of it. It's like if somebody says, don't think of a red apple. And right now everybody listening is picturing a red apple. Yeah. So I would go to bed. It would be what I was thinking about. I'd wake up, it would loop in my mind. Man. It was just boom, 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 boom all the time. And there'd be one night even, I just heard the quiet whimpering of my wife crying over it. I'm like, God, you know what I mean? And it's like this, my brain's like, do you even know how much worse this could be? Like just life in general. Like this is a terrible thing. This is not worth wallowing over. And I think I wallowed way too long. I think I handled it. I think I processed it poorly. I think that my ability to see the silver lining, my ability to persevere through things, failed me greatly in this chapter. And I've been doing a ton of self-reflection on this and realizing, like, I have tremendous luck with my kids. My kids are amazing. I love them very, very much. They're healthy. They're great. They're smart. They're strong. They're driven. They're all the things.
Mm-hmm.
This sucks. She tore ACL. It's 2024. There's a surgery for it. She got surgery, and they probably did a great job. And she's on the mend. What's wrong with me? This happens. This stuff. In fact, when she was on the bench after being pulled out of the game, like carried off the field, the coach came over and looked in her eyes and said, "You're going to get through this." She said, "This sucks. You're going to get through this. This happens a lot. You know what I mean? You're going to get through this." And you know what I didn't say? At the end of that game, they brought a crew out, and it was like 5 dudes with like huge dampers and this wheelbarrow full of, and they just went to
fixed the field.
Town on that part of the field. Like it was like some of the most aggressive field work I've ever seen. It was actually kind of funny. It was like they got like, listen, guys, you know, like field 3, first base, the one where we all know it's a problem. A girl just went down hard. It's looking bad. Fix it, you know. So who knows? But anyways, so I think I needed to admit to myself this podcast I knew was going to be kind of therapeutic for me, and I think
we put this off for a little while.
I had to
because it was too raw.
Yeah.
To do weeks ago.
Yeah.
Right. And as your friend, I struggled because I could see what you were going through, and I could see how dark of a place you were in.
Yeah.
And there was nothing I could do. At least I felt there was nothing I could do to give you the perspective to get out of that place at the time. I just knew that I needed to just let you go through it and at your own pace and have those reflections that you very much needed in the past couple of weeks to get in the place now to where it's kind of not behind you, but it's at least the lights coming out, right?
That's a very good way to put it.
So yeah, but it was a struggle to watch that happen and almost feel helpless that I couldn't just pull you out of the darkness.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. And that was, and I had gotten, when I went back to work after sabbatical, everybody's like, "Hey, you're back. It's good to have you back. It's good to hear your voice and everything good. You feel nice and recharged." And for most of them, I'm like, yeah. Like I don't, but the people I trust, and that's not fair. I trust almost all of them, but for the people who I don't know, really trust or whatever you want to call it, they found out about it pretty early, and they were just like, "What?" And they realized, like, one person's like, you got shingles right away, and then this happened. That's your sabbatical sucked. You know what I mean? I'm like, yeah, because sabbaticals you look forward to.
You
those.
should get a mulligan.
I should get a mulligan.
They literally need to give, like, if employee goes on sabbatical and gets shingles and their daughter tears their ACL, this needs to be written into the rules.
That exact scenario.
Yeah, that exact scenario, and they'll call it the Skizz rule.
And if they've been given a YouTube opportunity that they can't pass up, yeah.
This basically it didn't like destroy that opportunity or anything, but it definitely took away from the momentum that you could have had hitting Hermitcraft season 10 strong.
Yep.
You missed a lot of time because of everything, like the shingles and then that injury. You did. You missed some time.
Yeah.
It's been a rocky start.
It's been a rocky start. What's funny is I don't know if you did this on purpose, and if you did, then I'm grateful, and if you didn't, then I got lucky. At the charity event, we brought Jimmy and Martin on the server to give them a server tour. And so we just like, here's the server and it's going to be great or whatever. And then I think you were running the tour. I don't know who was running the tour.
Yeah, I was kind of leading it.
Yeah.
Well, Etho was the one talking. But I was kind of like pushing us in directions.
You were bringing the direction. And then we start to migrate over to the mountain. I'm like, oh no, please. I don't want to do this because the builds are so ridiculously beautiful, especially Joel's. Like I see what Joel has in his build, and sometimes I walk through it and I just marvel that anybody can do this, that anybody is that can build that beautifully. Like it's so freaking gorgeous, and you're all doing it, but like his specifically just puts me at all. I just cannot believe what I'm looking at. Right. Then you got my pile of crap. And so I'm like, okay, well, you better, suck it up, man. You know what I mean? So when they get to your base, what are you going to say? And I'm like, I'm going to say it's been a rough start and I got a lot of catch up to do. That's all I'm going to say. But I'm like, all of a sudden I'm like, I think Impulse is intentionally avoiding my base because he knows that that is going to be really embarrassing for me, or he's not, and I'm just getting lucky. Either way, maybe I can just log off. I almost decided to just leave, but I'm like, whatever, dude. I'm like, I am so behind, and I just experienced so many. I mean, it was already going to be one of the less appealing, because that's, and I'm okay with that. I really am. The truth is, I'm enjoying this arc. I'm enjoying trying to build well. I'm enjoying doing some things that I'm like, that's actually pretty good, and that's okay. I can see where that could have been better. I'm enjoying building things, and they suck. And you know why I like that? Because I know why they do. I can explain why they do. This is what I just built here is stupid, and here's why.
It's a learning process.
Yeah, it's a learning process, and I'm enjoying it. So
and that's the thing too, is to keep perspective on is a lot of us have been doing this for a decade.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
I've never cared about what I built before.
So this is your first. And we've been through these paces, a lot of us, and we started off where you're at. You know what I mean? Like, you have to do and learn, do, learn, and then the reps of that over time will make you much, much better. Yeah,
and and for the record, all the hermits and the community has and my wife and you and all of the same thing. You were not chosen for Hermitcraft because of your building, bro. You were chosen because of you. And right. I came across an incredible, I don't know how I came across this. I came across, believe it or not, on Reddit, which I'm never on.
So I sent it to you then.
No, well, usually that's the case. But
usually I'm the one sending you Reddit links.
Yeah, usually that's the case.
I'm your Reddit curator.
You are.
You're welcome.
Yeah. No, I came across a clip. So when Cleo, who I love, Cleabird I call her, who I love, she when she streams, I don't know if she always does this, but she's streaming with, what are they called when you have like a V stream, like somebody VTuber, where it's like a cartoon reacts to your words and whatever. She was doing that, and she was taking questions, and somebody had said something about Skizz's building skills. I don't remember what it was. It wasn't innately terrible what they had said, but they were alluding to the fact that it's no good.
Were they wanting to get a soundbite out of her saying something negative about your building skills? Were they leading her on?
I have no idea. But her response was very, very touching. And I'll tell you what it was, but it was touching enough that I actually hope she never listens to this, because I don't know why I'm like that, but I appreciate her very much. But she said, what? Oh, they said, what? That's what it was. What do you think of Skizz's building skills? And God, this is amazing, because she said what you just said. She said, I think that Skizz's building skills are right on par with all of ours in regards to our first few moments on the server. You know what I mean? And she's like, and also, why would you ask that? She goes, that is not why we wanted Skizz on here. She said, Skizz is a genuine person. Skizz knows how to bring people together. He's incredibly hilarious. He has fantastic ideas, and that's what we need. And I was like, whoa, like,
yeah.
Said, Cleo. It was so sweet. It was so nice. And she said that probably thinking I was never going to hear it. And I literally stumbled across it on Reddit. I don't know why I was on Reddit. For some other reason. I'm like, what is this? I literally stumbled across it. I mean, and it was like a while ago that this happened. It was like the first couple of weeks of the season or whatever. So that meant the world to me. You know what I mean? That was really, really sweet. But it also echoes what everybody's been saying. But here's why I want to point this out. I get it. And I believe you all that you're saying this. I don't believe it's lip service. I think it's very kind what you're saying. And I agree, and to the point where I agree with you. I know that I've never built anything where you're like, whoa, we need that on the server. I know that. I know you guys wanted me. You wanted the community I can bring. You wanted the humor. You wanted the wit. You wanted the crazy ideas. You wanted the camaraderie, the collabs. I get it. I love that. I want to do that. I love doing that. The building at this point is for me. And the reason is this: I want to be better. I don't need to be the best. I don't need to be even in the anywhere near the upper echelon. I want to be better because part of me thinks that to continue with my path and my style not get better is a little bit of disrespect to Hermitcraft. I feel that way. And I don't need to be I don't need to be incredible, but I need to be on an arc because I want to get better. And I've loved every second I've been on the server. It's been so much fun. It's been great. It's been the people, you guys are all, good job picking all the people because you're all awesome. You know what I mean? I'm having a great time. And for that reason, I want to make sure that I bring value, and I'm going to continue to bring the value that you guys asked me to bring, and I will do that comfortably. But I want my building to get a little bit better because I feel like if I don't at least try, and if I don't have some sort of arc, I feel like it's disrespectful to the server. I just do. And
Okay.
so I'm
Yeah,
going to
that's
keep
fair.
doing it. But the message has been like, I'm not beating myself up because I'm trying to get ahead of something or people are going to hate this or that. It's not that. It's quite literally what I just said. And the message is very clear. So I'm enjoying it.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. And now hopefully you'll get a chance to enjoy it more, right? Like
Yeah.
Jingle's behind you.
Yep.
Well, maybe not so much because sabbatical's over and now you're juggling
Yeah.
work
It
and
works.
this and
And
now
work's
it's
pressing hard too. Yeah.
now it's one of those things like a lot of us have been through it. You know, a lot of the hermits have had to juggle
Yep.
full-time jobs and make content for Hermitcraft. So you know, there are us to lean on if you're trying to figure out how to juggle, or you know, because your kind of like skill set that you bring to Hermitcraft is very social. That's a lot of times faster to make
to make content
to make
with, yeah.
content with than
Yeah.
trying to build a mega base. Yeah.
First of all,
So-
it's not sometimes faster. It's always
Yeah.
faster. I've seen what you guys build, and I'm like, what? Like
Yeah.
Tango, like gave me playful static for releasing a video, and it being one ahead of him because he felt like he was feeling like we all need to keep up with each other in episode number. And I'm like, are you outside of your mind? It was when I released 8 and he had only released 7. I'm like, oh, our videos are not equal. You know what I mean? Like they're not. Like if I had put the same amount of work that you've put into what you've been building, I would be on episode 27. You know what I mean? Given the nature of what my videos are, you know, and I'm like, they are not the same.
Yeah.
They're not the same. So we have to stop. I don't do it. I don't look at, oh, they're on this number, I should be on that number. I think we all need to stop doing that.
Yeah, no, I try not to worry about that too
Yeah.
much. I know that this season I very much found a pace that I like.
Yeah.
You know, and I used to put that pressure, and I still kind of do that, like schedule wise. Like,
Sure.
oh, I would like to release at least one a week.
Yep.
And so I started to feel a little pressure because we were gone for 10 days. And it was like, oh man, I haven't released in 8-9 days now. I'm behind.
Yeah.
You know, and so that. But aside from that, I have a good pace. I feel like to where it's like, okay, so if I'll just pick somebody, Azuma is at a pace of releasing 2 videos a week, and I'm at a pace of releasing 1 video a week. I'm okay with that. You know,
Yeah, good.
like that's his cadence. I have my cadence. It's what I'm comfortable with. It's what. I feel like I can maintain my own kind of mental health with, and I'm not like totally stressed out. And I'm not pumping out something I'm not proud of because
Yeah.
I was trying to meet a schedule. Like this is where I'm actually feeling pretty good, and I also feel like it's a good enough pace to where hopefully, like people won't forget about me because it's at least once a week. You know, like
Yeah.
how many shows do we watch on TV? If you want to talk about like what you're used to seeing, like whatever, pick a network show. It usually releases this day every week, and that cadence seems to be totally fine in the entertainment world. So, yeah, I'm absolutely happy with it. I think right now the challenge is going to be, like, we've gone completely off topic.
I know, but
I-
it's we
I
love
think
this.
the challenge for you is going to be with your skill set that you bring to the table, being social dynamic. How does that fare with you having to balance a daytime job, right? So your work is going to be asking for your time at the same time as the server is mostly populated with
Yep.
the people that you need to make
That's right.
collaborative content with.
Yep.
And that's where it becomes a challenge, because I remember going through this when I was working full time, not just 2 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
to where it was like, hey, we want to do this collab clip. Can you come join us? And I'm like, I have a meeting. I have
Yeah.
a meeting at this time. What can I do? And most of my time on the server was after I got the kids to bed at 9 o'clock at night. And
Yeah.
it's like I became part of the late night crew for a while, to where there's like 3 or 4 people that would be on at that time, but that's all I could really make content with. I was missing the boat
Yeah.
with everyone else. And so it became a little bit, my content became a little bit more siloed because of that. So now you'll have that challenge to kind of like figure out how do you dance around that, because the server needs you to be there with everybody else.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, I've already experienced it several times,
Yeah.
and it's actually what's crazy is, You know, we all do this. Especially the mountain crew. Somebody pops on. We are off topic, but let's finish this off. Somebody pops onto the server, and one of our neighbors, and we typically go say what's up or whatever. And I like it. I like the feeling that when I pop on, like Jem will come over, you'll come over, sometimes G will come over, Scar will come over. I like that, right? Sometimes I won't pop on because that happens, and this is what I mean by that. It started to like hurt me that more often than not I would pop on while on a meeting. If it happened to be a work meeting I'm not running, then I can listen to it and I can go grind, right? I'll pop on and then people come over and I'm like typing. I'm like, guys, I'm sorry, I'm in a meeting. So they come over and I'm like, yeah, I'm not actually here. And that started to get like, that's got to be frustrating. You know what I mean? That's gotta, every time I come over, you don't talk to me because you're like, just don't get on. You know what I mean? Like, which is, nobody's thinking that, but that's how it was like feeling in my own made up world.
I've been there, done that. You know? Shoot, it even happened to me yesterday. Me, you, and Tango were in a call planning our nighttime stream, which didn't end up happening. Our Hermitcraft After Dark stream. We were in a Discord call, and Cub wanted me to come over and like do a clip with him. You know, he wanted some fire charges. I had fire charges for my bartering station, and he wanted me to come over, and I was like, look, I can't voice. I'm on a Discord call with some other people. You know, and he's like, okay, no worries, I get it.
Yeah.
And I came over, and he was talking to me. Like, I was muted. He was talking to me. I could hear him talking to me, and I'm handing him the fire charges. And I had his stream up because I needed to find him. And his chat was just like, I don't understand why he can't talk. You know what I mean? Like, his chat was literally saying this. Why isn't he talking? Why can't he talk? I don't get it. He's there in front of you. Why can't he talk? And Cub's like, he told me he was on a Discord call with already. You know, So I think that's just part of it. You know, that's something, and you know, it's fine. Like, I think you realize over time, like, if you come up on Grian and he doesn't unmute, there's a reason. He's probably got a blender running in the room. Like, who knows? You know, like,
exactly. That's a good call.
Like, you never know. Like, I used to, before I got in the studio space. It happened to me all the time where like my dog would be barking at somebody at the front door and stuff. And so you have to manage it. You know, it's just part of the game. And we all understand by now. We've been doing this long enough that's fine.
You just cut it piece with it. So we did get off topic there, right? We did
a little bit,
but that's, you know what?
Let's just roll into podcast number 2 of the day.
We have
What's it like to be on Hermitcraft when you can't talk?
You have to keep in mind, we enjoy this Hermitcraft talk, and it's not a lot of people can really understand it unless they're on Hermitcraft. So it's when we get to do this, it's fun. But I don't want to take lightly what the actual topic was, and I genuinely want people to do the exercise I said earlier, and I feel like I can speak from an actual point of authority because I just failed at it. When you're going through something, or if you're going through something, and it feels like the end. It feels like rock bottom, right? We've all been there. We've all been there. And just for the record, I'm not trying to trivialize what you're going through. Some of you are going through very real stuff, and I'm not speaking to that. But it is at any given moment, just hit the brakes a little bit and reflect on the things in your life that you genuinely are grateful for. I think when you do that, I think you're going to see the amount of them is unbelievable. And it's easy to do that. Think about something that's great in your life and imagine you don't have it. You hear it all the time. You never know what you have until it's gone. Get deliberate about that line of thinking. Think about the great things in your life and imagine your life without them and realize in that moment how lucky you are. And that's what I mean when I say, if I were to reflect on all the things that are great in my life, we don't have enough time. But I did poorly with my daughter's injury. I processed it poorly, and it's actually a little embarrassing, you know, but that is what happened. But because I did that, I can see the damages of mishandling it. So stay keen on that.
Yeah,
I'm getting that. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you ever find yourself in that spot again, take a listen to this podcast again.
Yeah.
You know.
Yep.
That might be great advice, and I'll definitely do that as well. So. I don't think that was really well said. I don't think I have anything to add after that. I think this is where we wrap today. Thanks again, everybody, for watching and listening.
Thank you, guys.
See ya.